Hello, and welcome to GatherVerse News Unscripted, your home for humanity-centered tech journalism. I'm Lisa Bernard. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we will take a look at AI and the future of work. With layoffs and all these developments in AI, many people are feeling threatened and feeling vulnerable, but we have an expert perspective to help us maybe feel a little bit better today. We have Danny Cohen with us. He is an award-winning staffing specialist. He is the head of STEM North America for the Impellum Group, founder of the STEM Council for Good, founder of Breaking the Glass, a leading professional program for women in tech and their allies. And he is the co-chair of 50/50 Women on Boards. Danny, thank you so much for being with me today.
It is a pleasure, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start with a quote by Charles Darwin that you and I discussed. Tell me what that quote is and why it's relevant today.
So I've got the quote scripted, so I know it's unscripted, but I don't want to butcher the actual the quote. So it is not the most intellectual of the species that survive. It is not the strongest that survive, but the species that is able best to adapt and adjust to the changing environment which we find itself. I think it's so fitting for today, and given the future of work, it's also been kind of my mantra in life, given the fact that I'm definitely not the strongest or most intellectual when I'm in a room, but I do adapt, and I do adapt within the principles. But given the topic that we're talking about, I just thought it was the most relevant quote for the future.
It absolutely is, because many of us were raised thinking his quote was, survival of the fittest. Yeah. And in fact, this adaptation is what's so important. And we are most certainly at a time where we are all going to have to adapt, and perhaps adapt quickly. Yeah. So let's talk about work and jobs and people feeling so threatened by AI. You are someone who places people in jobs every day. What are you seeing? What has already shifted with AI? What areas already are being threatened, and what are you seeing?
So it's a great question, and it's such a wide-ranging discussion and topic. If I consider what happened over the last few years, it was COVID obviously had a major effect and impact on our working world. Beforehand, people thought, well, we can never work remotely. Well, we had no choice but to adapt. And what happened was we saw an advancement of technology. We went through huge transformations. And if you consider today what we're seeing, there's an impact in the market where maybe organizations are looking to reduce their headcount. They're looking to use far more digitalization of the automation to kind of, I would say, remove the workforce and feel more confident to maintain a certain ROI. But what I'm seeing more is things such as hybrid working. People are still, I think it's around 40% of people still want to work hybrid. Then it's about 30%, they kind of want to go to the office. I think it's under 10% of people want to be in an office full time. So that in itself is not changing. That's probably the first thing that I've seen from a working point of view, because when you've got a customer going, hey, I want a software engineer or a data scientist, they were okay wherever they were working. Now it's like, well, I want the best talent locally. Well, that prevents you from opening up opportunities and pathways for many. But that's what we're starting to see now, but it will be far different in the future.
So you're saying that they do want locally right now, but that will change?
I think they have gone to this point where companies are definitely not hiring as much, and certain mandates are being rolled out, such as, and I'm not going to mention customer names because I work with a lot of clients in America, some of the biggest in America, even the Fortune 1. And what you see is a lot of customers are saying, well, we want you local, we want you back in the office. And a lot of people are, well, I'm not living near the location. So it has meant companies can right size in their view in the right reasons. Even companies saying, well, we need you 3 days in the office, which kind of means some people are going to lose their opportunities. So going back to that quote at the very beginning, it's the willingness to adapt. If I consider my own career, I'm obviously from London. Well, not obviously, I'm from England, but from London. I moved to Amsterdam after 5 years in my job. And then 15 years later, I got fortunate and moved out to the great America, where I currently reside over in Austin. I had to adapt because of opportunity. And so I think there will be a rise in the fractional workforce. I think people will pay more attention to employee wellness, a lot more centered around people first. But actually, I think we're in a state of influx right now because of the market.
And specifically, this question of will the robots take my job? So
Yeah.
not speaking only about remote and hybrid, but specifically the technology
Yeah.
where there may not need to be customer service, humans answering the phones anymore. And
Yeah.
what are you seeing or projecting will happen?
Yeah.
Which jobs do you think truly will be replaced? And we should adapt. People should learn to do other things.
Absolutely. People are going to have to reskill and upskill. So I was actually at a customer site last week, and a lot of their costs are spent on people picking up the phone where they thought, oh, we'll spend an hour with someone. They don't want to do that anymore. So they want to automate those sort of responses. And people actually don't really want to speak to humans when they're booking a flight, for example. So that kind of gives you an indication where I was at. So what I see is office and administration roles may come obsolete. Software engineering, web development jobs may come obsolete. I mean, ChatGPT has demonstrated how good technology can be. However, I think only yesterday Elon Musk was commenting about we have to put a pause on AI development over the next 6 months because of the risk of the fact that technology is really playing a huge part in taking certain roles. But I think it's even things like in 10 years, there will be robot therapists. There will be people who the metaverse experts will be more in need. People will have to adapt. It is just part and parcel of life. And if you think about considerations of organizations, Disney, the CEO embraced technology. Kodak didn't. Nokia didn't. So I think a lot of jobs will change. There will be a need for certain different roles. And I think artificial intelligence is obviously changing the way teams work. It's changing the way we think as an organization, as any organization. But when I consider the roles, like, as I said, web development, data analysts, these sort of roles will likely be replaced. But that doesn't mean to say you will have no jobs. There would be just other jobs for you. It's funny, I was reading a meme the other day and it was like, we thought the robots would take the really rubbish jobs, the ones that are just data inputting, but they're taking our creativity as well. So you have to continuously adapt. But I do think the trends are demonstrating to us that there is so much more opportunity out there. But it's like anything. When I talk to veterans and military spouses and they're coming into the workforce, they transition over with so many years of great experience. It's just in a different industry, but it's all transferable. So I think that's going to be the sort of things that we are going to see. And our customers understand they have to be part of the transformation.
And in terms of job seekers,
yes,
there could be increased jobs available now with new skills, but I presume AI could create jobs. For example, people who can code artificial intelligence, there's going to be a great demand for them, right?
Absolutely. So Lisa, it's funny because when I think about artificial intelligence and I think about the way of the world right now, if you think about when I first started in staffing was 22 years ago, it was just after the dot-com concern and the crash. And then, we were talking about systems that would just are so slow, and and people were working on AS400 programming, IBM mainframe, to the point where, you talk about the cloud and people are like, I don't even know what that means. So constant advanced transformations take place. But at the heart of it all, it is the people that are going to make those decisions of what it looks like. AI is at such a fast pace right now that people have to be looking at learning the emerging technologies and trends. When I met Christopher Lafayette, it was a brilliant moment for me because I felt more intelligent just talking to him, well, actually listening to him, because if I spoke, I was definitely not on that spectrum. But it was just, he clearly saw that the metaverse was the future. And actually,
let me just tell people who don't know, Christopher Lafayette is the founder of GatherVerse.
Yes.
So he is the founder of GatherVerse.org and GatherVerse News. So tell me about the moment you met Christopher.
Yeah, so I met Christopher through one of my other connections, and I was blown away by the brilliance of the man. And actually, I am part of WICT, which is the largest and oldest women in tech community in America, and I'm the head of mentoring for Denver. We also run a Tech It Out event each year, which we bring all these technology experts, and he was the keynote where I did a fireside chat with him. And he really saw that humanity needs to come first within the metaverse. But what I recognized very, very quickly with Christopher is that he really was looking at the future and making sure, like really kind of Elon Musk is doing right now, even though Elon Musk is quite controversial with the decisions he's making. But he recognized how important we have to understand that technology has gone at record pace the last 2 years. Now, it may calm down a little bit with the less hiring, less projects projects happening because of less investment in new initiatives and so forth. But what I recognize with Christopher, and I recognize with many people today, is there is the Web3. There's more of a curiosity, and people need to be curious. People need to embrace the change that's coming, because you know, I was talking to an Uber driver this morning, and he was a salesperson. He was talking about, well, I'm going back into this sales. It's a step up. You've got to be constantly learning. You do. You've got to be thinking about the Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement. You can either stand still, look back, but like the organizations that have fallen, like the Blockbusters of the world, you will struggle. And, you know, you think about Disney, they did have Netflix. They were worried about it, but they embraced the competition. They embraced the change.
That's right. I think that is good advice. Of course, it is that adaptation from Charles Darwin. And also, as you said, the curiosity is so important. I want to shift to hear a little bit about these amazing organizations that you have helped found and have chair and help lead. Specifically, it seems like you have a focus on women and equality on boards. Please tell me about each of those wonderful organizations.
Oh, I'd love to share that. So it all stems from my past. I think a lot of us are who we were designed, but we're a product of our environment when we were children. And when I was a child, a young kid growing up, unfortunately, I didn't have my father around. But I say unfortunately, I had the sky's the limit of what I could be, because I had no real one role model. I had many that I could utilize as my kind of role model. But my biggest role model was my mother. She raised me and my brother in London, and she was a manicurist. So financially, she didn't have a lot of money. We had to go to boarding school because she couldn't really afford to keep us at home. But I recognized and I realized at a very young age the lack of support she had as a mother, going through menopause, working 2 jobs, working all week, not being able to support us as young sons. And I thought, you're an amazing woman and you deserve amazing opportunities. Why is that not here today? So more than ever, I want to paint the future. I want to try to use my privilege for others. So the communities I build or I'm part of are because I want to create pathways for everyone. There is good in all societies. There's also not good in all societies, but if I can be a bit of a champion of those who deserve it, then I'd love to. And given the fact that I've been in technology staffing for 22 years, I recognize the gender equality was very low. It's actually gone worse during COVID, because there was an assumption that, well, women are at home, they have to be the mothers. Absolutely, I'm not going to swear, but you can imagine all the superlatives that I would want to use right now of how bad that looks and how unfair.
Of course. Yeah, that was a huge shift in the workforce for sure. So now your work seems more important than ever. And it seems specifically with STEM, you are working to help women. And the background story of your mother is so poignant and wonderful and meaningful, and I can see how you're paying it forward. But tell us a little bit, the 50-50 women on boards.
Happy to share that, So women on boards, I'm the head of the Austin chapter, and I'm part of a larger organization, and their focus is to drive to get more women on boards. And as I said, it's gone backwards, it's regressed in the last year. And my goal is to champion, create awareness, education, and support. I was actually at a Salesforce event today. It's called Texas Streaming in Austin. And there was a Women in Tech event. And again, we're trying to create opportunities. So a big part of the Salesforce community is veterans and military spouses. And they just are giving people the opportunity, where there's a company called Meravis that gives people free 1-year training of Salesforce. The STEM Council for Good, the company I created, was to help all demographics. It wasn't just women, it was all the underserved and underrepresented. And I work with an organization called CoPath. They're one of the largest in America, helping Latinx and Black students get jobs in software engineering. And we have all these organizations that go, we just don't know how to do it. So through the STEM Council for Good, we partner with hundreds of nonprofits, giving them free advice, free support, free career opportunity with all the customers that we work with, because we want to be the change we want to see. And one of the big things you'll see in the future of work is diversification. You will see diversification at the heart. And it's not just a tick box for companies now. They have no choice but to do it. And so for me, it's foundational change and it's transforming people's lives. So if I can be the heart of that and you work with all the 200 and 300 recruiters we've got within the STEM brands that I support, we could change people's lives. And how I look at it is we are specialists in staffing. I want us to become the verb. When you think talent, you think us, for all the right reasons. And again, I wasn't privileged. Now I am. I need to help the mothers of tomorrow and today. So that's a big part of why I do it.
It's a tremendous mission, and these people are so lucky to have you working on this for them and bringing in all your resources and all your communities. It truly is remarkable, and hopefully you do have good response. Do you feel that people are willing to help and willing to donate their time, resources?
It's funny. I had a meeting the other day and I was rolling out one of our programs is called Hire Me. It's about upskilling people through a 4-step program. And one of the ladies in the call said, Danny, how am I going to be able to do 30 minutes of my time for this a week? I'm like, because it's important. That's the only thing we have to say. If we can't spend even 20% of our time giving back, then who are we? What are we? So this is where I feel, we have no choice but to make a difference in the roles that we have. And we are in the top percentile of the world where we can provide opportunities. So what I've seen is that was an anomaly. That was an individual who was just like, I just don't know. I'm stressing, I'm struggling. And a lot of people right now are thinking about themselves because a lot of people have lost their jobs. So I get it. But when you're giving back, you meet people, you network, and your network is your net worth. By meeting so many people, you can create opportunities. I mean, again, there's a saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I am fortunate to know a lot of people, but I work very, very hard to get my LinkedIn, for example, to the max connections. I've worked very hard to spend time with people like you, Lisa, and people like Christopher, where I'm connected with amazing people who have the same view. They want to build communities. They want to bring different people in. That's an amazing thing to be part of. So my ask to everyone, and call for courage rather than action, is go out and just that fear of like unknown, just do it. I promise you it gets easier. I used to have a fear of speaking in public. Now I'm like, just put me in, coach. I'm fine. I'm good. What's the worst that can happen?
There is no worst. You are amazing. You are absolutely amazing and inspiring. Thank you so much. You are exactly what we're trying to do here at GatherVerse. We are exactly this idea of put humanity first. Even as all this technology comes, there are consequences on society and on humans, and we have to work together so that the robots don't overtake us. It's consistent with that. Danny, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing. You've inspired me. Hopefully you've inspired others who are watching to give back and, continue to grow together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who are watching. We would like to base our reporting based on the things you all would like to hear more about. So please do go to the link in our comments section and tell us about some stories you're interested in hearing about, or you can also go to the website gatherverse.org/news, and in the comments, tell us about some of the other things you'd like to hear about. On tomorrow's show, Jade Hernandez will take a look at content creation in virtual reality, storytelling, and producing pieces that are newsworthy, that are fictional, non-fictional. And her guest, Rick Adams, is an illustrator and a storyteller in VR, and he will share the whole process as it's evolving. You won't want to miss that. And thank you for joining me. I hope that you'll be back here tomorrow at noon Pacific time for Jade's show, and with us every weekday at 12. Thank you so much. Have a great day.